What a pleasure it is to be here with you today, in amongst the scientists, the engineers, the entrepreneurs and the innovators that are shaping our future technological and industrial landscape. I feel as I'm in very good company this morning. And thanks, of course, to our wonderful hosts, the Royce and Manchester University, for organising this flagship event and bringing us together at this moment of national need and opportunity. And as David said, as Chief Scientific Advisor at the Department of Business and Trade, it really is an enormous privilege to work alongside colleagues across government, across industry, and in academia to help shape the strategies and policies that are going to deliver against this government's hugely ambitious plan for change. And as a former systems engineer and chief technologist formerly at BAE Systems, it's pretty difficult to think of a more compelling set of systems problems than those we face across health, across security, climate, and economic growth. But it is also hard to think of solutions to those problems that don't in some way involve innovation, technology, and materials. So this meeting is super welcome. So look, over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to set the scene by looking back at some of the strategy work that's taken significant effort over the last year or so, and then look ahead to what is now the implementation phase of that work, or as we've started to call it, the difficult second album. Okay, so the National Materials Innovation Strategy. Okay, so its launch earlier this year was a real landmark moment. So led by the Royce, David, Alan and team and Scott Kem, and shaped by you and over 2,000 experts, it set out a really bold vision, which was to unlock UK economic growth through materials innovation. So we know materials underpin the goods and services that we trade in our economy, and that innovation really presents the opportunity for transformation as we tackle those huge systems challenges that I mentioned. And the strategy identified 6 key opportunity themes, from energy solutions to healthcare, next-gen electronics and packaging, and some of those cross-cutting enablers such as digitization, manufacturing scale-up, sustainability. And it's a call to action. It positions materials as a national priority. And it really lays the foundation for that coordinated investment and thoughts around skills and regulation and how we bring all of that together. And whilst materials underpin all those products and services that we know we have in our economy, we also know that, turning those technologies and innovations into tradable products that can be traded and differentiated in that global marketplace is super, super difficult. We know this. It's not just the technology readiness, it's the availability of skills, as Andy was talking about, not just technical skills, entrepreneurial skills, commercial skills, program skills. It's the infrastructure, physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, the data sets that we all need to share so that we can collaborate, the regulatory environments, the financial levers and mechanisms in that environment, the markets, the access to those markets, and of course, export controls, and wrapping around all of that is our risk appetite. And I think when you step back and think about materials, as I've learned, the challenge is even more acute for this space, because when you're doing innovation in materials and developing new materials, you are often developing not just the material itself, but the process for manufacturing, the standards that might fit around that, and supporting a regulatory framework that might work around that. So the need to align all of those parameters and be really coherent in order to transition technology into product is essential. But none of those parameters are owned by any one part of the organisation that we work with. So neither government, nor academia, nor business owns that whole space. But collectively, we do have ownership of that space. And with a singular shared ambition, then we can align our effort and then we can generate great outcomes. And that is what an industrial strategy can provide, that aligning function that brings us all together with a coherent vision and set of objectives that, as Andy said, we can stick to. We can stick to that plan. Done in the right way, it's going to allow targeted investment to accelerate collaboration. That will drive onshore innovation. It allows us to establish ecosystems with different strengths so that we can work together and collaborate, share ideas, and develop that expertise that, as we know, takes years to build. But once we've built it, that expertise endures, and that defines our regions and the capabilities, the businesses and the institutions and the places that it creates. So it was the first thing that I asked the Permanent Secretary when I leapt from my career in industry into government in February 2023. Are we going to have an industrial strategy? The answer was a little bit uncertain at that time, but one change of government later, and my wish has come true. So here we are. The industrial strategy is a fundamental pillar of the government's growth mission, which is that plan for change. It was launched in June. It's a 10-year plan, and it aims to deliver that certainty that businesses need to invest. It took some fairly difficult decisions. So a key part of a strategy is you can't include everything. You have to make choices. So it has prioritised 8 high-growth driving sectors. So advanced manufacturing, clean energy industries, creative industries, defence, digital and technologies, financial services, life sciences, professional and business services. And within these sectors, there is a further level of granularity where subsectors that are considered to have high growth potential have been identified. And advanced materials is one of those subsectors that sits within advanced manufacturing because it's recognised for its transformative potential alongside subsectors such as aerospace, automotive, batteries, space and agri-tech. The industrial strategy is ambitious. In advanced manufacturing alone, we see almost half of the UK's private sector R&D in this sector. It's a high productivity growth sector. It generates over £200 billion to the economy in 2023. The goal in 10 years is to double the annual business investment into the sector. And as well as being a frontier growth subsector in its own right, we know that materials cuts right across the economy and is needed to underpin growth in all of those other sectors that I've talked about. It's absolutely vital for those value chains. And as David sort of talked about at the beginning, you can see materials is this web that enables a whole set of things across our economy. So the scale of that opportunity space is just worth reminding ourselves of. David said we have to be able to know these numbers off by heart, so let me just remind you. The UK ecosystem is worth 45 billion GVA from materials and employs over 635,000 people across the nation, of which 50,000 specifically are materials innovation jobs. 90% of materials innovation businesses are SMEs, and 70% of those are outside of London and the Greater South East. We've got huge potential and huge leadership that we can build on. So the UK metallics market, essential for advanced manufacturing, is the 3rd largest in Europe and valued at over £15 billion. We hold about 8% of the global market for biocompatible materials used in sectors such as healthcare at this moment. And our £4 billion composite materials sector includes over 400 companies and employs over 30,000 people. So it is a huge opportunity space. So, to that difficult second album, we're now in implementation phase, and we have a national materials innovation programme. This is going to build on this rich heritage. It's going to build on the thousands of companies that we've got in our ecosystem. And the government has committed £50 million to phase 1 of this programme to mark this kind of beginning, this stronger partnership across industry, academia and government. And critically, the programme is aiming to shorten those timelines to take materials through that innovation cycle and into product, and to lower the cost of doing so. It's going to invest in strategic areas of capability, one of which will be dual use. It's been mentioned here already this morning. We're going to capitalise on the uptick in defence spend and ensure that that investment nationally contributes at a maximum level to other sectors of the economy so that we all benefit. So, for example, the National Materials Innovation Programme and its funding will complement existing investments, such as the Defence Materials Centre of Excellence, hosted at Royce, with, I think, £42 million of investment from DSTL. So you're going to get this additive effect as we sort of bring in this new investment. We want to embrace new opportunities in sustainability and digitisation, and we're going to build on the Materials 4.0 programme. We're going to seek new international partnerships and also lean forward into that discussion around skills and the regulatory framework. I've mentioned how important it is to collaborate, and I've touched on the collaboration between academia, between business, and between government. But I also recognise, and my goodness, I've seen this on a day-to-day basis, that government itself is absolutely massive, and it's really important that it uses all of its levers to enable the industrial strategy. So just to give you a sense of that commitment, certainly within the Department for Business and Trade, if you listen to the Secretary of State, Jonathan Reynolds, you'll hear him talk about our other flagship programmes that are aligned to the industrial strategy, one of which is the trade strategy, for example. That is supporting us by opening global markets for UK manufacturers and also UK opportunities for overseas investment. We're enhancing the UK export finance offer and forging agile trade agreements with those partnerships where we're looking at advanced manufacturing, advanced materials, and trying to work out who do we trade with, where are those agile partnerships going to be, how do we do something that really capitalises on the strategy and accelerates what we're trying to achieve. We're backing the wider advanced manufacturing sector with £4.3 billion of investment in funding, including £2.8 billion in R&D and £99 million for small, medium-sized enterprise technology adoption. And we're looking to use that incentive to crowd in that sort of private sector investment. We're also reforming that business environment as part of that consultation that went into the industrial strategy, of which there were 3,000 responses and 23,000 really substantive answers to questions. Lots of things came back loud and clear. One was energy. So we're looking at how we work across government to cut the costs of energy, how we improve grid access, how we streamline regulation to make it easier to bring innovation through into products. Our small business strategy is increasing the British Business Bank's capacity to 25.6 billion, so that will expand the access to finance and allow more and more SME innovators to access finance, contribute to the kind of the revolution that we want to see happen in the materials sector that's going to underpin our growth. And of course, we are tackling the skills challenge. So with £1.2 billion annually on training, shorter apprenticeship programmes, targeted reskilling programmes, and indeed our goal around diversity is to reach 35% female representation in the sector by 2035. So these investments and these policies are all developed with stakeholders that include yourselves across business, across academia and government, and across regions. And we want to set those conditions that will enable us to deliver that growth. So thank you to all of you that have contributed to getting us to this point. So in terms of just some closing remarks then, look, having seen the agenda for today and tomorrow, you're going to have a fantastic couple of days. I'm certainly looking forward to engaging and talking about technology, talking about sectors, talking about specific topics and what we can do in the region. We've got a really excellent lineup of speakers, and including Royce Chair Designate Paul Monks, a fellow CSA, the third CSA you will have, who will bring a wealth of expertise to the Royce. But look, let me just say, it's a really exciting time for UK and for the UK materials community. Materials matter. We laid that out in the materials strategy. We linked that really carefully to the industrial strategy. We have a whole set of policies now and levers that are coming through that are going to help us to deliver. So innovation in materials lies at the heart of our national ambition. So as the National Materials Innovation Programme develops in the coming years, I look forward to staying really closely engaged with this community and ensuring that we maintain that really critical alignment between the brilliant academic and science and engineering community, the industrial community, and the government community, so that we line up all of our policies and make sure all of the conditions are perfect to maximise the growth opportunity that we think we can get from materials. So thank you, Dave, for the opportunity to speak today, and I really look forward to the rest of the day. Thank you.